Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. Bezos Hashem, we will delve into another beautiful Amud Gemara today. Kiddushin Daf Mem Daled Amud Aleph. We are in the wide line, the first wide line, and I would actually go into Tnan. I would go a little bit above into the second to last narrow line. Ha'ish Mekadesh is Bitik Shinairo Boy U Bishluchoy. Okay, that's where we are. Okay, so what did we say yesterday? This Shiur, first of all, is Leinu Nishmas of Amorah Menachem ben Akiva, and it is La'atzloch of Gans Klal Yisrael, L'Rafua of Yair ben Chavtziba, that's Baruch's father-in-law, and L'Rafua of Chana Batzima, Nina Chaya Bas Geula Rochel, Leilu Nishmas, Tanya Reisha Bas Elchon Nitzchok, and L'Rafua is obviously for everybody else that's wounded from the war, B'toich Shar Chol Yisrael. Says the Gemara, Tnan Hosom. Yeah, we learned Tnan. We learned in our Mishnah. Aish Mekadesh is Bitok Shinairo, Boy Ubeshluchoi. A man may be Mekadesh's daughter when she's an Naira, Boy Ubeshluchoi. He or his shaliach may receive Kiddushin if he wants his daughter, the Naira, to get married. Boy Ubeshluchoi in, Ba Beshlucholoi. The Gemara is Medayek, is inferring from the Mishnah, a man may be Bekadesh his daughter, yeah, receive the Kiddushin for the daughter, yeah, him, but she cannot. She cannot receive her own Kiddushin even as a Naira, let alone a Ktana, but even a Naira cannot receive her own Kiddushin. When a girl is a Naira, a girl is between 12 and 12 and a half, father is the only one in charge of her Kiddushin and nobody else, not even her. Tufta the Raish Lakish, that's against the Raish Lakish. Why? What did the Raish Lakish say? Raish Lakish said that according to Chachamim, just like a girl, Naira, may receive her get, she may receive also her Kiddushin. And here the Mishnah, you see, no, you see only the father receives Kiddushin and not the daughter. That's the question. Raish Lakish, the easy way out answer, says Raish Lakish, Shonami Rabbi Yehuda. It's also Rabbi Yehuda. In other words, our Mishnah follows Rabbi Yehuda. Everybody knows, both Rabbi Yochanan and Raish Lakish and everybody else, the Rabbi Yehuda says clearly that a girl, even as a Naira, may not accept her Kiddushin, not even Gittin, nothing. The Mishnah follows Rabbi Yehuda. Very good. The Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda. Yendikt. Correct the Gemara, are you sure? Umi matis mukmas lo Rabbi Yehuda, second wide line. Umi matis mukmas lo Rabbi Yehuda, could you really, matis, can you mukmas lo Rabbi Yehuda, can you really explain our Mishnah as a Rabbi Yehuda Mishnah? Can you make the Mishnah work according to Rabbi Yehuda? The Aktani Seifa, we're going to see that the next Mishnah, which is really the continuation of the first Mishnah, it's all one long Mishnah, the Seifa tells us a different story. What does the Seifa say? Amorah Leisha. We're not going to all the details of the second Mishnah. Trust me, it's not an easy Mishnah, the next one. I'm sorry to warn you in advance, but we're just going to have an overview now. Amorah Leisha, man told the woman, Iskachi li b'tmoro zu, iskachi li bezu. Yeah, in other words, we're talking there about a person, yeah, that told a man who told a woman, Iskachi li b'tmoro zu, she has a few dates, tmorim, she has a few dates on the table, and he told her, be miskadesh to me with this tomorrow, miskadesh to me with this date, with this date, with this date. Yeah. In other words, he's pointing at all the dates at the table and says, instead of giving her a nice traditional ring, is actually more, unique, and he wants to be Mekadesh her with a yummy date. They went on a few dates, now he wants to Mekadesh with a date. Okay, so now he says, be Mekadesh to me with a date, and he keeps, he's pointing at different dates. And what do we say? Sometimes she's Mekudeshes and sometimes not. And what did we say in, we said practically La Halacha, that if one of those dates are Shove Pruta, then she's Mekudeshes, right? Otherwise, no. What's the Chiddush? Let me explain to you what's going on over there. The basic is very simple, actually. Yeah, we all know that a woman can only be Miskadesh in a Shove Pruta. That's not much, yeah. According to Besilel, that's a Lochosh Pruta. As opposed to Bet Shammai, that's at a dinar, right? And we say a Pruta. Very nice. Now comes that guy. And he wants to be a Mekadesh woman with either one date or a few dates. We're not sure what he means. Depends on the language he uses. If the guy meant, be Miskadesh to me with this tomorrow, and the other one, and the other one, and the other one, let's say there are 3 or 4 on the table, then he wants to be miskadish with all of them. If he meant either one or the other date, or the other date, or the other date, he meant either one. He meant one of those, whichever one you pick, you'll be miskadish. What's the difference, lahalocha? Who cares? Let's say she took all 4 dates. Let's say she took them all. What's the difference? Well, the difference is as follows. If, let's say, each one of those dates is worth, let's say there are 3 dates, each one worth a third of a pruta, that's the difference. Why? Because if she took one date, yeah, and she said, oh, that's nice of you, Bore Prio, what a guy, what a date, I'm yours, yeah? So then if that date is less than Shova Pruta, then she is obviously not Miskadeshes, right? She's not Miskadeshes. She has to have what? All of them, right? And if the date is, right, and one is not enough, she has to have all of them. But if he told her that you're Miskadesh to me with either, if he meant all of them together, then she has to have all of them. If he told her either this or the other, then one is enough, right? Again, if he told her either or, one date is good enough, right? One date is enough, right? If it's Shova Pruta. If he told her this and that the other, she has to have all 4 dates, each one Shova less than Shova Pruta, in order to be Miskadeshes. And that's a question, did he mean one date? Or did he mean all 3 dates? And then if the less than Shova Pruta, she has to have all of them together. That's a question. And what did we say over there? Amrinan. And we said over there, Man Tana Hiskachi. Over there, what makes, how do we know if he means to relate to each date separately as another option, this or this or this or this, and then any one of them is good enough if it's Shova Pruta? What separates that to make the either, like in English and Hebrew also, you have this like slanted line, either or, man, woman, then what's that word that makes each statement separate, this date, the other one separately as a separate entity? Only if you repeated the word iskachi again and again. Iskachi li b'tmorzu, iskachi li b'tmora, iskachi li b'tmora, be miskadish with this. Then they're separate. But if it's that iskachi li b'tmora, and then bezu, then the word iskachi relates to all 3 or 4 together. That's what we're saying. The word iskachi, that's what separates them. Who believes in that? Who believes which one of the Tanoim thinks that you have to say again and again hiskachi to separate each tomorrow from the other? This follows the opinion of Rab Shimon. And now we're going to we're going to touch upon another sugya to do also with separate versus continuous statements. What did Rab Shimon say? The Omar, we're going to explain soon. Ad sheyomer shvua lekol echad ve'echad. What does that mean? A similar story, and that's a very complicated story. We're only touching upon it here. It's a long and hard Amud in Masechet Shavuos. Yeah, there is another question regarding Korban Shavua. We all know that if a person was accused of owing money to someone, you owe me money. Remember in Shavuos we said 5 reasons. Either you found my Aveda in the street and I know you have it, you owe me my salary, you stole, you have deposit, and the person who is accused says to the plaintiff, no, and I swear that I don't owe you money. And then afterwards he came and he cried, big tears. He didn't cry. He confessed that he really lied and he was nish balasheker. What do you have to do with him? What's his punishment? No. Chomesh v'asham, Rabbi saying. Chomesh v'asham, right? He has to pay an extra 5th, which is really a 4th, and he has to bring a korban asham gzelos. If you swore l'sheker on gzela, you have to bring chomesh v'asham. It's a parsha v'ikra hey, and also it's all sugya involved mitzia around daf nun v'chulei. So listen to the following case. Let's say a guy comes to court, miskan. It's 5 people. Let's say, I think the Gemara says there are 5. The Mishnah. There are 5 different people: Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, and Kalanimus Kalman. All claim separately that you owe them money, right? But they're all in the same court case. Yeah, like a common, how do you call it? Common claim. There's a word for it. No, joint claim, right? Against one person. Here, with few people claim against one person. What? Class action. Okay. Class action, tviya mishutefet. Class action, and now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all claim you owe us money. Now he can do one of two things. Either now he's nishba, he's lying, but he's nishba to all five. The question is, if he's nishba to each one separately, Reuven, I swear I don't owe you a million. Shimon, I swear I didn't find your toy truck. Levi, I don't owe your salary. If he's nishba to each one separately, he's chayv 5 times, 5 chomoshim and 5 korbanos. But let's say he says, I am nishba to all of you together, right? He was on chayv 1. His shvua was 1 on all 5, right? He's doing like a package deal. Oh, I wish it was that simple, because a lot of nuances over there, of nuances about when do you consider it to be one shvua, and when do you consider it to be separate shvuas, similar to the question we have over here. Says, I'm repeating now, Amorah Rab Shimoni, Rab Shimon, the author of the Mishnah of Kiddushin, that only looks at the 5 dates or the 3 or 4 separate dates on the table as separate Kiddushin, only if the husband, the chotzon, says, Iskachili bitmo, Iskachili bitmo, Iskachili. You have to repeat the verb every time, only then it's called separate. You know who that is? It's Rab Shimon the Omar. Rab Shimon says regarding, what you call it? Rab Shimon says regarding, regarding Shvua, says Rab Shimon, Ad shemer shvua lekol echad ve'echad. You know when the person is chayv 5 different shvuas, only if he says nishba ani lecha, nishba ani lecha, nishba ani lecha. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Kolonim, Kalman. Each one he says nishba. Only then they're separate shvuas, as opposed to. But if he says I am hereby nishba lecha ve'lecha 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 ve'lecha, even if he says ve'lecha or without the vav, no. If he said the verb one time and then he says lecha ve'lecha ve'lecha ve'lecha, we call it one long shvua, like one long train. That's so far so good. So Rab Shimon, he is the author of the Mishnah of the tomorrow. So who's the author of the second Mishnah of the dates? It's Rab Shimon, not Rab Yehuda. You told me, Raish Lakish, what's your way out, Raish Lakish, to tell me the following Mishnah is Rab Yehuda? It's Rab Shimon. Frag the Gemara, who says they argue. Frag the Gemara, what's your problem? I could tell you, I could still stand by my, stick to my gun, says Raish Lakish. You could say possibly, Kula Rabbi Yehuda. Really, Rabbi Yehuda is the author of both the Reisha regarding the Na'ara not accepting her Kiddushin, only the father. That's the Reisha is Rabbi Yehuda, like Raish Lakish said. And in the Protim, meaning regarding the detailing versus not detailing, the tomorrow, what's called detail, what's called common and continuous, in that he thinks like Rab Shimon. In other words, could be Rabbi Yehuda. Agree to Rab Shimon. What's your problem? You think all the Tanoim argue about everything? Maybe Rabbi Yehuda is the one who says what? Like Rab Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda is the one of the Reisha, like Raish Lakish, and Rabbi Yehuda in the Seifa agrees to Rab Shimon. Says the Gemara, that's not true. Can't work. Umi sova lo. Is that so? Is Rabbi Yehuda really in agreement with Rab Shimon regarding the loshon of prat versus klal? Tanya. Now we're getting a little bit to that sugya and shvuas. We're going to see a few opinions. Tanya. Klal, that's the rule. Klal enu chay velo achas. Prat chay velo kol achas v'achas divrei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir told us regarding shvua a general rule, although the Gemara there says exactly what he means, but Rashi doesn't quote it here. And the rule is, if klal, if you said to Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Kolonim Kalman, one general osham that applies to all of them is chayv 1 chomesh and 1 osham. But if he detailed Reuven separately, Shimon separately, he addressed each one separately regarding their what? Regarding their claims of money, and he addressed them separately, then he's chayv a separate chomesh vasham to each and every one. So says Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda, this is important now. Rabbi Yehuda, soon we're going to see, is going to say something different to Rabbi Shimon. Says Rabbi Yehuda, Shvua loy lecho, chai b'kol achas ve'achas. Yeah. Says Rashi, this, according to Rashi, some people argue, says Rabbi Yehuda, if he said the word Shvua, not to you, Not to you, Shimon. Not to you, Yehuda. Not to you, Clonimus. You all are liars. Shavua. If he didn't say the Vav Hachibur that connects them into one big train, one big chain, then what? It's considered a separate Shavuos. Meaning, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you don't have to repeat the verb Shavua to Reuven, Shavua to Shimon, Shavua to Levi, Shavua to Kalman. If you said Shavua, not to you, not to you, not to you, without saying the word end, that means they're separate enough. He compartmentalized each one, and he's going to have separate korbanos. Guys, this is Mefurish Rabbi Yehuda against Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says what makes each statement separate. If you had to repeat the word Shvua, Rabbi Yehuda says no. Rabbi Yehuda says even if you said Shvua, as long as you didn't use the Vav Chibur, then each one is separate. Let's continue the brayso just for the fun of it, even though we already know the question. Rabbi Lezer says, Rabbi Lezer has a different hashkafa here. Depends where you located the word Shvua, and he says like this: Loy lecho, loy lecho, loy lecho, veloy lecho. Shavua Chayav l'kol achas v'achas. Rabbi Lezer says, I would agree with Rabbi Yehuda, except that I want to tweak his words one way. I think that if you said Shavua at the end of the train, at the end of the chain, then you can look at them separate. Why? First of all, it said, not to you, not to you, not to you, not to you, separate. Then it said, you know what I'm talking about? Shavua. Then it's separate. But if you said Shavua, and then Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, because you started with Shavua, that applies to all of them as one go, one thing. Rabbi Shimon Oimer, listen to this. Rabbi Shimon, remember Rabbi Yehuda, which we saw a minute ago? Let's look at Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon Oimer, as we know, Rabbi Shimon says you're not chayiv separate Shavuos. You only chayiv one Shavua, whether you said lecho velecho. You know the song in the said lecho ki lecho lecho gam lecho. Says Rabbi, I'm half drunk, half asleep. Then but there is such a song as far as I remember. What happens then? Doesn't matter, says Rabbi Shimon. Nothing. It's all considered one statement, one mush, one thing. Unless you did what, according to Rabbi Shimon, you have to repeat the verb every time. Shvua lecho, shvua lecho, nishba lecho, nishba lecho, nishba lecho, nishba lecho. Then it's separate. So what do you see? Excuse me. Let's now crystallize the question against Raish Lakish. In the Reisha, Raish Lakish told me, you were forced to tell me that the Reisha follows who? Rabbi Yehuda. Because according to Raish Lakish, it's the only way to read the Mishnah. Because according to him, only Rabbi Yehuda believes that the girl cannot accept Kiddushin. And the Seifa, you can't make that, peace between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. The Seifa clearly doesn't work with Rabbi Yehuda. Because the Seifa said that when is the man considered to be Mekadesh with each date separately? Only if he said, Mikudeshes b'tmora, Mikudeshes b'tmora, Mikudeshes b'tmora. No. According to Rabbi Yehuda, if he says Mikudeshes b'tmora, as long as you didn't say Vov, it's all separate. Stuck. The ratio is Rabbi Yehuda and the Sefer is Rabbi Shimon. Bad news. Answers the Gemara a genius answer. Ella, you can look at it the other way around. Up until now, we looked at the perspective of Rabbi Yehuda. Let's turn it around and look from the perspective of Rabbi Shimon. Kula Rabbi Shimoni. You know who's the author of these two Mishnayos? It's Rabbi Shimon. Because the Seifa with the different dates, that can only work with Rabbi Shimon, you're right. But who told you that the Reisha, which talks about Shlichus, meaning who's in charge of the Kiddushin, the father of the girl, Rabbi Shimon thinks like Rabbi Yehuda. Very genius. In other words, it's true that they argued regarding the separation of statement. How do you separate different statements? Nice. That was in the Seifa. But nothing stops Rabbi Shimon from agreeing with Rabbi Yehuda that only a father can mekadesh a girl, and not the girl herself. So the author of both Mishnayos was a very choshev Tana named Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Shimon is the one who said both statements. Gevaldig. In the Reisha, he thinks like Rabbi Yehuda, unlike Rabbanon. He thinks that only the father, not the girl. And in the Seifa, he has his own opinion, arguing in Rabbi Yehuda regarding the separate statements, that only when you said scotchy every time, it's a separate statement. Givaldig. Story time. So far, Raish Lakish survived the whole story. Raish Lakish is okay now. But now let's read the following story. That will make us decide. That will bring us to a decision. What? No, Rabbi Yochanan is fine because Rabbi Yochanan will tell you the Tanakama fakert. It's a riot, Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan would say the Mishnah talks l'fi Chachamim. Everyone agrees to, according to Rabbi Yochanan, everyone agrees to the fact that only a father accepts Kiddushin, not a Na'ara. Everyone agrees to that. Absolutely. Rabbi Yochanan says Cain. You see the chart here. Says Rabbi Yochanan das Chachamim, right? Yes, a girl can be but Kiddushin low, I mean, sorry, low. Yeah, very good. Low. According to Rabbi Yochanan in Kiddushin, both Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbanan both say no, and therefore the Reisha goes according to everyone. No, Raish Lakish is the one forced. Raish Lakish was forced to say that the Reisha is Rabbi Yehuda, but that started all the trouble. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, the Reisha works very well with both Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim, so it's all good. It's Chachamim. Nobody argues on that. Everyone's good with that. No, that's not a question. I knew I have to. No. Again, I'll repeat it because it's very, very, very simple and easy. Again, let's repeat the basics. According to Rabbi Yochanan, all the Tanoim in the world, all the Tanoim around the world, all agree, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that a girl, a Naira, cannot be Mekadosh herself. Rabbi Yehuda, Chachamim, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi whoever you want. They're all Bruria. Yeah, you want to mention a woman? Everybody agrees that a girl, Naira, even a Naira, cannot be Mekadosh herself, according to Rabbi Yochanan. Yes. Good. No, so there's no question. The whole question started because you, Raish Lakish, are forced to mitzamtzem and constrict the Mishnah, the first one, according to only Rabbi Yehuda. That broke all hell loose because then what happened? The second Mishnah doesn't work with Rabbi Yehuda. There was a problem. According to Rabbi Yochanan, the first Mishnah is everybody. Like everybody agrees you can't eat chazir, I think. So too in the Reisha, everyone agrees that a girl can't be Mekadosh herself. The second Mishnah, machpatli, it's another argument between Rabbi and Rabbi Shimon, whoever feels like can argue. Absolutely. So yeah, just needs a review and repetition. That's all. You understand it. Says the Heilige Mishnah story time. Rabbi Asi lo al bei midrasho. Rabbi Asi did not come to Besmedrish one day. Right? I'm sure that it wasn't because the plumber came to his house and his wife felt bad staying alone. But Rabbi Asi did not come to Besmedrish for, I guess, a very good reason. Ashkechei Rabbi Zera. He found Rabbi Zera afterwards, yeah, and he wanted to know what was going on in Besmedrish. He didn't get the YouTube link, so he asked his colleague what were they learning today in Besmedrish. Amar Lei, Rab Asi asked to Rab Zera, "My Amor Ha'idna Bei Midrasha." What did they say today in Besmedrish? I guess he met him in the afternoon and he missed the morning seder. What was the news in Besmedrish? Amar Lei, Rab Zera answered and says, "I'm so sorry. Afanolo Ayil, I didn't go to Besmedrish either. Didn't make it to school today either. I didn't come either. However, Rav Avin Huda Ayil, but I heard the news already because I know Rav Avin, he did make it to Besmedrish today, the Omar, and he told me big news. And he said, Chavrusa Kula Rabbi Yochanan. The whole Chavrusa doesn't mean two people. The whole Chabura, the whole group of Chachamim, everyone unanimously agreed with Rabbi Yochanan, saying what, Shlomo? What did Rabbi Yochanan say? That a Naira can not be miskadish by herself. Everyone agrees to everyone voted for Rabbi Yochanan. And you know how Raish Lakish responded? V'tzavach Raish Lakish ki kruchya. Raish Lakish screamed like a kruchya. Kruchya, Litzvach ki kruchya is a modern term also in Hebrew. Tzavach ki kruchya means he crowd like kruchya is like a crane. I don't know this bird can shout so much. The crane, yes? Cranes, they shout? Ah, yeah? Okay.
Meant to come from Ukraine to go to North Africa.
Right.
But they found it so nice and full. They settled there. So
see, everything in the Torah, everything is in the Torah. So apparently, kruchya, a crane, is a bird that makes a lot of noise. And Raish Lakish shouted like a kruchya. What did he shout? B'yotza v'hoisa. In other words, Raish Lakish claims and shouting, excuse me, people, b'yotza v'hoisa. Why is he saying that? Because according to me, Raish Lakish, the concept of V'yotze v'hoisa works better than according to you. Why? Because we all know that when it comes to Gittin, what do we say regarding Gittin? According to Chachamim, you can look at the chart if you want. According to Chachamim in Gittin, a girl may receive her get. True. And therefore, a girl, if she can receive her get, she should also be able to receive her Kiddushin, right? Yes, that's what I claim. According to Chachamim, she receives her get, receives the Kiddushin. I refuse to see the difference, right? Before we continue, both Rashi and Tosfos and Ritva and everybody points out that even according to Raish Lakish, the comparison is not 100% foolproof. In other words, says Tosfos, even your Raish Lakish agree, excuse me, Raish Lakish, you do agree by Ktana it's not the same. A Ktana may receive her get, but a Ktana may not receive her Kiddushin. Why? Because she has no yad to receive Kiddushin and be makne herself. The she can get, she's not a makne, she's a statue. He puts it in her hand, she's like a klotz. A Ktana could be 3 years old, maybe not 3 because she does not look after the get. But I'm saying conceptually, Mashenken Kiddushin she cannot receive. Naira has das. And Naira is halachically an adult. She's an adult with restrictions because she kind of belongs to the father. By Naira, says Raish Lakish, I refuse to see the difference. In other words, as much as I can, I would apply v'yotzev hoiso. By Naira, I can. It's an adult, it's a thinking person, and if you say she receives the get, I would say she can also receive the Kiddushin. The lekadash gachbei, nobody cared about it. Nobody cared about him. Nobody listened to Raish Lakish. It was a lone voice. And the halacha, I assume, halacha is again like Rabbi Yochanan, saying what? That a Naira may not accept her own Kiddushin, let alone a Ktana. Obviously mean even Naira, you know that. A get, they may receive, so far, according to Chachamim, and Kiddushin, they may not. Omar le Rabbi Abin Balsam, Omar le, now he responded, Rabbi Asi is still talking to Rabbi Zera. They talk about what Rabbi Abin said took place today about the Nayas from this Medrash. Omar le Rabbi Abin Bar Samchu, is Rabbi Abin reliable? Is Rabbi Abin reliable to really know medakdik b'shmos v'ena shochech? Is he reliable not to forget? The Amoraim were very, very meticulous. Look at the Gemara over here and see what's Torah Shabbat Peh. The Amoraim were very makpid. They were not like, people today, very emotional and you see something in social media, half a word, you decide that's the truth. No, they're really medakdik. Maybe he forgot. Is he a reliable person to maybe not forget? Maybe forgot something. Maybe doesn't have the shmua 100% right. We're talking Torah Shabbat Peh. We want to know if Rabbi Abin is a person with a good memory to remember exactly what went on. Omar in, oh yes, he's reliable. You know why? Because keminyama letigni. He was like a fish jumping from the sea into the frying pan, into the tigun. You know, it's letagem in Hebrew. To fry, to make somebody not from. Yeah, fry is letagem. Very good. Yeah, how do you say chips in Hebrew? Potato chips in real Hebrew? Chips. Tognim. Nobody knows this word. Yeah. Nobody uses that word. But if you're very advanced person, listens to the Hebrew Academy, so the real word for chips is tognim. Next time you go, ask the guy behind the counter, the 15 years old, ask him for a tognim. He will not know what he wants from his life, that's for sure. But Hebrew University professor would. Anyway, I'm going a little bit on tangent here. What? In Hebrew, I'm saying. French fries. Right. Makes sense, of course, obviously. Yeah. The kids are. So we see I hear you, but still, there were still extra. Maybe the scream was about something else. Maybe the kids said, "What's Yamalatigni?" Just like the fish, there was fish today and straight into the frying pan. That's what the waiter tells you, at least. So then, so too, it was so quick. He told me that right after leaving Besmedrash. In other words, as he was leaving Besmedrash, I interviewed him. It was fresh in his memory, exactly. Just like you want fresh fish, when you eat it, it was fresh in his memory. Taisa says something else. Yama and Tigni were two places very close to each other, right? Yama and Tigni were two towns, and it was very, very close. Like Mishkafayim and Rama Aleph, right? With the motorcycle, it's very, very quick, right? So you don't forget, it's very quick. Now, and therefore, I trust him that Rabbi Yochanan was absolutely overruled, and there was a real scream. Okay, I mean, Yamal Tigni who? I hear your horror. Okay, I hear, but you don't want to be extra careful. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Ana, I, lo Rabbi Abin bar Bichia, velo Rabbi Abin bar Kahana. In other words, who's the one who told us about this dramatic event that Raish Lakish was so overruled? Rabbi Abin. He says, I don't know whether it was Rabbi Abin or Rabbi Chia, or Rabbi Abin Bar Kahana. That's not in my books to decide which one. And Rabbi Abin Stam. I know that Rabbi Abin said it. I don't know which Rabbi Abin said it, either Rabbi Chia or Rabbi Abin Bar Kahana. Who cares? You're learning his genealogy, you're playing geography. Again, Torah Shabbat Peh concept. Lemirma didei adidei. If you want to question a contradiction, create a contradiction between Ran Rabbi Abin and the same Rabbi Abin, you should know that this may not be the same Rabbi Abin. Let me explain. Let's say I know that the person who basically told us that there was such a full support, across the board support for Rabbi Yochanan against Raish Lakish, let's say it was Rabbi Abin Rabbi Chia, right? And I'll see another statement, or let's say tomorrow here, another Shmua, like it happens, the Gemara has contradiction every half a second, right? Let's say I would find Rabbi Abin Rabbi Chia supporting Raish Lakish. Hey, I would make a Rami. What's a Rami? I would pose them one next to the other and question, excuse me, Rabbi Chia, you supported Rabbi Yochanan, now I'm supporting Raish Lakish, stira. But if you know, or you don't know, if you know it was a Rabbi Abin, but we don't know which Rabbi Abin, then if I see Rabbi Abin Rabbi Chia saying one way, I wouldn't question the other statement, because maybe the other statement Rabbi Abin Bar Kahana. We have kilo this room of error, margin of error of Rabbi Abin X versus Rabbi Abin Y. Therefore, I wouldn't ask a contradiction. Otherwise, I would. That's why they were so particular, the Amoraim, to know who exactly said the Shmua, that in case the things are not in line, the things are not exactly consistent, they would ask a question. But if I know there are two Rabbi Abins, I won't ask the question. Maybe Rabbi Abin Rabbi Chia supports Raish Lakish, Rabbi Abin Bar Kahana supports Rabbi Yochanan. But Lamaisa, as we can guess, halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan, and a Na'ara cannot be miskadish by herself, right? That's what Rabbi Yochanan is saying. However, I'm not saying this halacha lamaisa, by the way, right now. This seems to be now in the Gemara. I said halacha shulchan aruch. I'm saying this is what we see as of now. Let's wait. Rav asked Rav Nachman the following question. Now, Na'ara, we're now talking about get. Up until now, Kiddushin was argument between Rabbi Yochanan and Raish Lakish. What about the get? Remind me, please. Regarding get, there's no machlokas Rabbi Yochanan and Raish Lakish. Who are the Tanoim that argued regarding a Na'ara receiving a get by herself? That was machlokas, Chachamim, and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says a girl, even a Na'ara, may not receive her own get, right? There's no shtei yadayim to one person. And Chachamim say a girl may receive the get. Good, here's a chart attack. Gitin. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yehuda says she doesn't get. And Chachamim, both according to Raish Lakish and Chachamim, say she may. Okay, good. That's a question. Now let's follow the opinion that holds that a girl may receive her own get following Chachamim. Okay? And that develops into a new question. Na'ara, shliach lekabel gita miyad baylo. Let me hear loud and clear. A regular woman, independent woman, married, and she's 37 and a half years old. And she lives in Rome. Make it a little bit different. And her husband, whom she hates, lives in Ramat Gan. And he says, I'm not leaving Ramat Gan. I love Ramat Gan. She wants, she should come here. She should fly here. And she says, no. And then what do? She sends a shaliach to receive her get from her husband in Ramat Gan. Does that work? And he gives the get to the hands of the shaliach that was sent by the woman. Is she megoreshes? Yes or no? And if yes, then when? Once the agent called shliach received it in his hand, at that happy second, she's megoreshes. Just sent her a nice WhatsApp, an email. Lady, you are free, and she can date all the boys in Rome and in Milano. The Seder? Good, clearly. In other words, a woman can make a shaliach to receive her get. Shliach Kabbalah, we learned it. V'shilach, v'shilcha, we know the source. What about a Na'ara? What about a Na'ara who, let's now assume a Na'ara may receive her own get? Can a Na'ara who's above 12 and generally can create shlichut? She's a gdola. Na'ara is really a gdola. A Na'ara can send a shliach to Truma, let's say. Can a Na'ara send a shliach to receive her get, yes or no? Why not? Says the Gemara. Do we say ki yad aviyadamya or ki chotzer aviyadamya? Which means as much as we say that the girl has the independence to receive the get, at the end of the day, the person in charge of her Kiddushin and Gerushin is her father. It's a Na'ara, and let's say it's from the Erusin to play it safe, so the father is still in charge. So now what do we say? She is part of the authority of the father, and as such, she may also receive the get. She is a COO. She's like one below the father. She is also authorized to receive the get. But the main man, the main guy is the father. So how do you define exactly her ability to receive the get? Do we say kiyad v'yadamya? Do we say she's like the extended arm of her father? Or do we say she's like the chotzer of the father? In other words, she's sort of, for issues, she kind of belongs to the father for issues. And therefore, just like, let me ask you a question. If you, not you, chas v'sholem, a man who wants to divorce his wife, one, I'm asking is good or bad, I don't know. Let's just say she has her own private house, which she can, halachically, from nichse, whatever, she has her own house, and he threw it into her house. Not her, I don't know, look at her hand, he threw it into her mirpeset, and she knows about it. And is she megoreshes? She threw it into her chotzer. And the chotzer received it for her. Is she divorced, yes or no? She's 80. Yes, she's megoreshes. Yes. Because maybe the same thing works over here. Maybe the reason why the Na'ara may receive the get on behalf of her father is because she's like the chotzer of the father. Maybe the girl is considered to be her father's domain physically. She's like her father's chotzer, and when the guy, the husband, placed the get in her hand, it's ki'ilu, he put it in the chotzer of the father. Maybe that's why it works. That's an interesting way of looking at it. And therefore, the Gemara is going to elaborate. It's one of these Gemaras that elaborate very nicely. So now we explain both sides. Maybe she's like the extended arm of her father, which is more independent. The father has the arm, the hand to receive the get, and so do I. Just like the father clearly can create shlichus, can appoint a shliach to receive his daughter's get, so to she. She's like the father, same thing, equal. And so too, she also can mishav shliach. It's more extended arm. She also can appoint a shliach. Or maybe no. Maybe she's not a real recipient, a hand to receive the get. She's only like a chotzer, a passive thing. And until the get gets into her hand, she does not get divorced. Why? Because she's like a passive chotzer. Last time I checked, a chotzer cannot create shlichus. I don't think my apartment in Lachish 40 can make shlichim. So if the girl is like a chotzer, she cannot make a shliach. She's like the floor of the mirpeset, receiving the get super passively. She doesn't have the koyach. I have my own koyach yad to receive. So like the 35 years old woman from Rome, I'll create shlichus. What's create shlichus? You're just a chotzer, so there's no shlichus. That's a question here. How do you? Their seats? Right. Good. And cannot, no, not of the shlichus. You're mixing two things. No. But she can't make a shliach. A chotzer can't make a shliach. No, you're mixing two tzdodim. No. What you said now is a mixture of two things. I'm sorry to tell this. You know that I love you. No. No. If you're a hand, if I have koyach kabbalas gitin, I'm going tiny bit lomdus here. If a woman has koyach to receive a get, that koyach, I'm going to the lomdus of shlichus, which I learned, I can extend that koyach to another guy. That woman who's now in Rome, stuck in traffic, I don't know, she can send a shliach. It says, I have a koyach kabbalas get. That koyach kabbalas get of a woman, of a human being, of a thinking person, that I'm passing on to Luigi. He'll do the Jewish Luigi. He'll receive it instead of me. But if the girl, in the case of, and so too maybe by Na'ara, that's one side. Or maybe no. Maybe she is the father's chotzer. She's the receiving end of the father. A chotzer is super passive and can't create shlichus. She's not really an independent yad. She's just a piece of land, ki'ilu of the father, where you can just stick the chotzer, the get in the chotzer, just like you throw the item into someone's mirpeset, you should be koina. Such an entity cannot be creating shlichus. So let's continue with enough time. Think about it. Zog the Gemara, umi misapka le lerove. Does Rava have such a tzad to say that a person who's a ben das will be a chotzer. Now we're going to combat the idea that a person who is a bardas, yeah, a person who's a normal person has the din of a chotzer. I'll prove you wrong. There is no such thing. Let's see how that works. Is that so? Now we're talking about an adult woman receiving a get. Cause of get, the husband wrote a get, that's it, too many weeks without lynches. Cause of get, v'nesona beyad avdo. He placed the get in the hand of her slave. She has her own slave, the woman. She has an eved, knaini, and now that's her eved knaini from Chveisnish separate Nechosim. Yoshen, let's say the eved is asleep, umeshamartoi. The eved is asleep, and she's the one who guards him not to run away. Yeah, in other words, she locked the door, the eved is asleep. What's a combination of asleep and meshamartoi? The fact he's now lying down in the, I don't know, dining room couch, wherever he sleeps, is absolutely disconnected from the eved. It's only her who's guarding him. He's asleep. He's not choosing anything. When you're asleep, you're unaware of what's going on. Plus, she's the one who locked the door, and she's watching that he shouldn't run away. So she's in full control of his position, of him being where he is. Harei get. Then it's a get. Why? Because a chotzer, and this is going to be the whole yesod now, when you have a chotzer that you wanted the chotzer to be koine for you, the chotzer has to be, question, that's halacha, mishtameres l'daitcha. You have a chotzer that's open, and all the kids in the neighborhood come in and out, and everyone can steal things from there, like some people have the chotzer, big tzaddikim or big friars, the whole chotzer belongs to everybody. That's not called chotzer mishtameres. And I'm not saying halacha l'maisa or not, but the chotzer is not a chotzer for kinyonim. Chotzer has to be something guarded by you, for you. You put a fence, or you watch it, or you tell the kids to run away. That's all. Now, so if the eved is absolutely physically, technically under her control, then he's called her chotzer of the woman. And then if you place the get into the sleeping eved's hand, then you can say that eved with those two conditions is so out of his own control and so much under her control, that's called a chotzer, although he's a living human being. And then it's going to work midin chotzer. Neor, ain't get. Neor, ain't get. If the eved is awake, why is the awake eved not moving? Why isn't he going to the kitchen or going to the sleeping, to the dining room, to wherever? Why is he staying there? Because he chooses to. It's his choice. As much as he's an eved, his movement is his own choice. So that's not called chotzer. Shemishtameres ledat ha'isha ledas atzmai. That's not called a chotzer. Let's have the Gemara elaborates on that. Amai no get. Why isn't it a get? Davel chotzer mishtameres shelo ledaito. Because when the guy, the eved, is choosing to be sitting right now and not standing or walking, he's not mishtamer to her das. It's not she who chose that. He chooses that. And if you want to tell me that a girl is like the chotzer of her own father, that already doesn't make sense, right? Because most times, if this girl is awake, not asleep, we're not saying only a sleeping girl. Yeah, and also a sleeping girl, she's not an eved, she's a free woman, right? So Isa kedate kichotzer v'yadamya kimata gita liyoda nami lo tigoresh, right? If it comes to her hand, she should not be misgareshes. Dabil chotzer mishtameres shelo ledas avia. It's chotzer mishtameres not because of the father. She chooses to be here awake. She sits down because she wants to sit down, not because of the father. Even if the father asks her to sit down, it's her choice to listen to him. She's doing her own movement, her own emotions. She's not called chotzer mishtamer. She's a moving thing, and therefore it's not chotzer mishtamer to the father's das, and therefore no way you can tell me that a girl is a chotzer of her father, because a normal human being, not an eved, not asleep, not guarded, regular girl, she has her own choice, her own movement, so she's not her father's chotzer. Therefore, must be that it was simple right at the beginning it was simple to Rove that asked Rav Nachman, the question originally from Rove, clearly Rove knew all along really that she's not called a chotzer. Of course, she's considered to be the yad of the father. So what's the question about making shliach or not making shliach? What made you ask that? That was the real question of Rava that asked Rav Nachman. Mi alima kiyadavia l'shavi yishliach. Oiloi, very good. Do we say that her hand is as good as the father's hand? When we say, in other words, the starting point is clearly the father's in charge of the Yitin. Let's start from Bereshit Bara to avoid cheshbon mistakes that we had before. How do we know that the father is in charge of his daughter's Gitin as long as she's Moresis and a Naira? We makish Yetzia Lahavaya. Gitin and Kiddushin are good friends. How do you know that the father is in charge of the Kiddushin? Es biti nosati lo yishazem. Before Shepasuk in Tvorim. Es biti nosati. I gave my daughter. I'm in charge of my daughter, the Naira. I'm also in charge of her Gitin. That's in the Torah. You want to add an idea that the girl also, because she's a Gdoilo, she's a Naira, could be also a Ktana. The Rashi does mention Gdoilo actually. So she also has her own hand. When we say also, how much? Let's say, let me ask you a good question. Let's say you know who's the menahel? You go to Moisa, the school, a company, a yeshiva. He's a Rosh Yeshiva, right? And then you say, with that guy next to him, he also has authority. What do you mean? As much as Rosh Yeshiva? Less than the Rosh Yeshiva, right? He said there's a top guy and also another guy. Are you saying that he's equal to the top, a little bit less? That's a question in verbal batish way, but that's a question here. Do we say that she has a hand just like the father, alima, as strong as the father, and therefore she can also appoint a shaliach? Or maybe not. Or maybe you would say, no, maybe she has koyach less than the father, because the real koyach Kiddushin Gerushin is the father's decision. She technically can also extend her hand, but less than him. She can do the passive thing. She doesn't have the authority to continue that over that passivity to create a shaliach. That's a question. Omer Lei, and he responded, Mazel Tov. Here comes the answer. Ein oisa shliach. Ein oisa shaliach. She cannot create shlichus. In other words, her power is less than the father's. And although a girl may receive her gitin because we're passing Chachamim against Rabbi Yehuda, a girl may not appoint a shliach to receive her get, and that's the halacha. Eiseve, she can receive it, yes, but she cannot appoint a shliach to receive it on her behalf. That far, her authority doesn't go. Absolutely. Eiseve. Now we're going to question that from a brisa, and the brisa is as follows: Ktana, please be aware. Up until now, we spoke about Naira. Now we mentioned Ktana on purpose. Just be aware of that. A Ktana. I want to ask you a question. Can a Ktana make a shliach? No. Ktanim cannot make shliach for anything. Ktanim don't have the power. They can only be passive. That's not even a question. Ktana sh'omra iska beligiti. A Ktana told a guy, a man, somebody, accept Meget for me. That Ktana is in Rome. The husband is in Ramat Gan. She says, you're flying to Ramat Gan. Please accept it from my husband, the get, and when the get will reach your hand, I'll be megoreshes. No, girl, it doesn't work like that. Ain't no get, get liyodo. It's not a get until it reaches her hand. And even that's a problem, because you know what we have to do now? We have to change the roles. In other words, her husband, who's a gadol, who's 18, let's say, her husband, he's the only one that can make a shliach oilocho, a shliach from his side. So the husband, you know what he's going to do? He's going to turn that shliach of hers into his shliach, switch it, and say, you are now Mr. Shliach, you are the shliach of the husband, and then when you fly back from Ramat Gan to Rome, to her, when it reaches her own hands, then she'll be megoreshes. Like Yosef said, when it's in her hands, she receives it, then she's megoreshes. Bekitzer, shlichus doesn't work, bektana, yeah? Hanayra, raise the get. Excuse me. As I told you, I warned you. What are we saying here? Ktana doesn't have shliach. By ktana, the shliach will have to be turned from Kabbalah to Hilacha, all coming from the husband. Ktana sounds to me like ktana. Sounds very much naira. It is a get. Mashma naira may make a shliach, unlike what you just told me, right? Because Rav Nachman answered Rava saying she cannot. That really, she cannot make a shliach. He would say, Ktana can't. Mashma naira may. Answers the Gemara, we're talking here about a girl that has no father. The Ktana has no father. Pshia, in other words, a Ktana or naira, now when they don't have a father, Ektana has no shlichus whatsoever, lo mishane what. Now, let's look at Rashi b'med vo amurim. Yeah? B'med vo amurim Rashi. The Ktana lo shaykh b'shlichus. When does Ktana not have shlichus? Keshe'en la'av, she has no father. She's in Esoima, no shlichus. Ktana remains the same. Aval yesh la'av. Let's say the father, yeah, 1 second. No. Excuse me. No. I want to, 1 second. No. No, that Rashi goes on later. Excuse me for the mistake. No. Sorry. I'm going back to the Gemara. Sorry. No Rashi. That Rashi goes on later. Sorry for the mistake. Excuse me. Let's continue to the Gemara. We're talking here b'shein la'av. Okay, we're talking here about a girl that has no father. So let's, without seeing the Rashi, the girl in Na'ara that has no father. I told you that before. She's independent, and she definitely can receive her own get and even create a shaliach. As I told you, b'shem the Ritva and other Rishonim, the Ritva says beautiful lashon nisroik nereshus ha'av to the girl, which means when a girl is in Na'ara and has a father, who's in charge of the Gittin and Kiddushin? The father. The girl may also receive Gittin. He's the boss. When the father is dead and she's in Na'ara, she's in charge. In other words, the father, even Ketana for certain things, to appoint not Kiddushin only Drabanon. Let's stay with Na'ara now. By Na'ara, what do we say by Na'ara? And Na'ara, whose father is dead, she's in charge. She's now independent. She's a Gdola, she's a Barbas Mitzvah, and therefore not only she can receive the get, the CEO died, so who's in charge? The second in command becomes the main guy, right? So now, what do we say? The Na'ara may send the shliach to receive the get. Very good. Okay, makes sense. When the father is there looming over her, then her power is limited. She can do it, she can receive, but not send the shliach. But when the father is dead, she became number one in the company. She's one in charge, and she can not only receive a get, she has the real power, the top power, and she can also send other people to receive the get, as opposed to what? Ktana. A Ktana, even after the father's death, remains a Ktana. Very good. Yes. And she cannot send a shliach, because Ktanim can't send shliach, unless it's very urgent, I prefer not, but what? No. Patrobas doesn't work for Gittin Kiddushin. No, wrong. No. Oh, sorry. We can discuss it in 5 minutes. The answer is one big no. A Patrobas is for money matters of Yisomim. Not from marital matters. That's not a joke. No. Zog the Gemara, frag the Gemara. You telling me that the father is dead? It says in the Seifa, Im Omar loy aviha. Let's say the father of the girl. Let's assume now we're talking about a Na'ara who has a father. Im Omar loy aviha. The father told him the shliach said the kabel get lebiti. Go accept the get from my daughter, and the father of an Na'ara, of course he can send the shliach. Then imrotzol ba lachzo boy lo yachzo. Let's say after the husband put the get into the hands of the shliach of the father of his shver, the shliach of his shver, right? Can he regret now and say, no, she was so amazing? No, why not? Because the father, as an adult, can make a shliach kabbalah. Once the get is in the hands of a shliach kabbalah, as you guys said, out. She's in Rome, this is in Ramat Gan, boom. And that half a second, she's Megoreshes, too late. Maybe can start and build a relationship again. She's divorced. Michlal dereisha b'deishi eshla avaskinan, right? It sounds like that if her father said, sounds like the Brisa talks about a girl with a father, right? In other words, you told me the father is dead. Excuse me. The Sefer says, if the father told her, so she has no father. Which father are you talking about? Excuse me, right? Must be your answer is bad. You can't say that she's the Yosoima. The Sefer clearly relates to some kind of existing, alive and kicking father who's making shlichus. Therefore, soon we're going to read the Rashi that I was trying to read before. Answers the Gemara, the final answer, the magic words, oh, this Brisa was missing a few words, and now everything will be Ba Mekom B'Shalom. Ktana she'omer iskabeli giti, Ktana who sent a shliach. Can you please be mekaba maget for me? And she told the shliach, you be my shliach kabbalah. No, doesn't work, lady. You're a very smart girl. No, ain't no get ad she get leoda. It's not a get until it reaches her hands, and you have to know it's very, very misleading, this price. It's only a get ad shegia leyodo, only, but there shouldn't be some kind of hole in the middle of no shlichus. Her shliach is possible. The husband has to make her shliach into his shliach hoilocho. And then that guy who came from Rome to Ramat Gan has to change his hat, switch sides, become the husband's shliach to give her the get, and then he's the husband's long arm, and then when she received it to her hands in Rome, she'll be megoreshes. That's what we mean. Because her shlichus is zero because she's a ktana, with the father, without the father, with a ponytail. Doesn't matter, there's no shlichus bektana. Hanaira, raise the get. But Hanaira looks like get does work. And we stick to our guns. But when she has no father, and Naira, who may conceptually make a shliach for other matters, for truma, for business, she may also do business and make shliach, create a shliach, as long as the father is not there. As the Rishonim say, Nisroi kno, the kamle b'charikoi. The Rishonim say, she's instead of him. She became the menaheles. She became the president. So now she can make shlichut because the father is dead. Aval yesh lav. That's the key. The Seifa is talking about a separate story. Aval yesh lav. But let's say she does have a father. The Omar Avia Tsevika Belabiti Gita. Let's say the father of the Naira is alive, and he told what? The shliach, go get the get from my daughter. The shlichus is an absolutely good shlichus, and the kabbalah of the get by the shliach of the father is 100% kabbalah's get, which enough kamina is too late, Mr. Husband. A second after it reached his hand, you can't regret, as opposed to somebody who didn't make shlichus, or you can, because it's not her. She's already megoreshes. Let's see the Rashi which I promised you to read. Let's see it now. Yeah. A few lines above where we are. Important Rashi. All Rashis are important, but some of them we read. The ktana lo shaykh b'shlichus. When do we say the ktana has no shlichus? She'en la'av. In other words, that story of if the father being alive and functional is not only by Naira, also by ktana. Aval yesh la'av ve'omer le'avia v'chulei. Kloimar, which means aval yesh la'av shaykh b'shlichus al pi avia. In other words, ektana herself, no connection to shlichus. Ektana that has a father, she has shlichus not by herself, by the father. And on that we add on top of that afilu Naira. Both ktana and Naira, their father can create a shliach. Shim Amar La'avia, Ben Shel Ktana, Ben Shel Naira, Skabel Biti, very good. Either Ktana or Naira, the father is in charge. What's the difference between Ktana and Naira? If she can, by the way, both of them may receive the get. Rashi said that about Ktana, she may receive the get. Ktana may receive the get, and Naira may receive a get. And Naira's father may make a shliach, Ktana's father may make a shliach. And Naira, now what did we say about a Naira? Can she make a shliach? The conclusion after a lot of turbulence was no, Eino is a shliach. And Naira cannot make a shliach while the father is alive. Ktana cannot make a shliach while he's alive. So spot the differences. Where is the one difference between Naira and Ktana regarding shlichus? Father's dead. That's the only difference. When the father is a toit mensch, then we say that the Ktana, she's a Ktana, she can make shliach. But she'enken, maybe after chuppah, by the way, I'm not even sure about that, but Erusin, no. Mashenken Naira, after his death, she becomes a big boss. But she's Betzim Gdoilo. She was overpowered by him all the time. But she has got to make shlichut. Yeah, she's a Gdoilo. And therefore, once he's dead, she gets into the power. Ashta says Rashi, lo tikshi dika dereisha, da b'shen lavka. Now, the dika dereisha is not difficult because in the reisha, there was father, there was no father, and they say, there is a father, two separate cases, all is good. May we all live till 120, and nobody should get divorced. Everyone should live long lives, Hashem, and we should see Mashiach and Shtaigois. Good Shabbos to everybody on Torah anytime and on YouTube. I mean, on our channel at least. Itmar, we are going to start the new sugi on Sunday. Anybody watches me and wants to start on Sunday night the new Shiur, join us for the new Shiur. Maseches Shabbos after Ma'ariv till 10 o'clock, also available on Zoom. So Hatzlocho Brocha, have a great Shabbos. Simchas u'brachos. Thank you.
And we can certainly learn Naira.